there are a lot of people are trying to figure out when tech will stop going down. Tech is really what's bleeding the worst. I think that tech is integral to a Fed policy of actually trying to make one of our two assets go lower. I think the Fed wants stocks worth less. I think the Fed wants our homes worth less. I think the Fed wants people to go back to work. And David, the easiest way to make them go back to work is to make them need money. And I actually think that's behind us.
Wait, explain this to me. You think what's behind this? They're trying to make people lose money?
Yeah. I actually believe at this point, they know that if they take rates up a lot, then you're going to sell stocks and you're going to buy treasuries. It's relentless. I think it can get to a level where it's silly, but we're just not at the silly level yet, David. I really do believe that. I spent a lot of time thinking over the weekend, why do the markets go down every day? And I think a lot of it is because the Fed doesn't care. The Fed just says, you know what, we've got to make people hungrier. We've got to make people go back to work. People haven't, and that's one of the reasons why we have rampant inflation.
Well, Carl, the S&P lost, what, 4.8% last week. I'm looking at some stats here. 8 times this year that it has lost at least 3% in a week. In the 7 previous occasions, the following week was positive.
4 times.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I get the same research.
Yeah, pretty much. Thanks, JP Morgan. But the average gain, Jim, on those following weeks was about 4.5%. I think someone pointed out largely Fed weeks, though, which have been definitely helpful, at least so far this year. I don't know. Your point about draining liquidity is a good one. I noticed, for example, Zillow today, August home sales down 0.3. That's the worst month on month in about a decade. So there goes some housing value as well.
Look, I think that we're getting there. I mean, we got to get to the point where our house is worth less. We got to get to the point where our stock portfolio is worth less, and we're getting there. I mean, maybe we're there in 10 trading sessions. Maybe September is the pain point. But when I listen to the guests this morning at Squawk Box, nobody thinks they're going to stop here. I think that they can stop raising rates when our homes go down in value, when our stock portfolios go down in value, and we have to go back to work. And Carl, there are so many people that have not come back to work. And I still think people misunderstand, Carl, how much COVID has changed the equation. It just doesn't come up enough. I think Jay Powell is acutely aware that we got to get people back to work simply because they just can't stay home anymore.
I want to make a quick clarification here, though. You're talking about actually back to having a job as opposed to going back to the office.
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure, because these days back to work can mean getting back to the office, which is another topic that I'm sure we'll hit on today as well, given some stats we saw from last week. But you're talking about people who left the workforce, getting them back into the workforce.
Yes. I mean, David, where's their money coming from? I think they've had an unbelievable run in their portfolios. I think everybody feels great about their house still. I was at Home Depot last week. There's no degradation. People still want to spend a lot of money in their homes. But David, it's just, we have to accept the fact that people haven't come back to work at the rank and file. Listen to Phil LeBeau this morning talking about problems in the auto business. They haven't come back to work. Now, what stocks do I think are unaffected by this? I think unlike the autos, I don't think healthcare. I think healthcare's doing well. I think the banks don't mind. But I think there's a lot of industrials where they're just short parts. And last week, there were things that happened that I felt devastating. Nucor, which has been this incredible engine, largest steel company, just saying, listen, flat out, we have less demand. And then we have a lot of the semis saying, look, the NAND and the basic building block DRAM saying, look, orders are down. And then, David, we have a whole other thing going on where it's like, you know, if you're on an assembly line, you haven't come back to work. I don't know the psyche. I don't know the psyche. I am desperate. I ask everybody out here, what is the psyche of a person who can just stay home? And usually I keep coming back and hearing they have a lot of money.
So people who worked on assembly lines have a lot of money?
Yes. Hourly workers have not come back. Well, David, you're quizzical, and I don't blame you. You're giving me pushback. I don't blame you. But I think we'll hear it from the auto companies. I am seeing Cruise today, which is GM self-driving, talk a lot to the major auto companies. People just haven't come back to work on the supply chain either. I mean, I think there are a lot of high-end semiconductor companies that simply can't produce what they have to produce. I'm going to see